it's difficult to describe that one right there. So wanted to come in, talk to you guys a little bit, answer a couple questions, and unpack what we just witnessed together in the best way we possibly can. The first thing that came to mind, and you guys probably saw this already posted, but just goes to show you a little bit. The college football world got a taste of what a talented quarterback is capable of if he just has a little bit of extra time to deliver from a clean pocket. Jeff Lebby, Coleman Hutzler, and company, they're going to have to live with the result because of their choice to to turn away from what got them that 17-point fourth quarter lead in the first place, inexplicably. Right? They play much more of a prevent, bend but don't break style of defense and stop attacking the glaring weakness for Texas, not just for Texas, but one of the glaring weaknesses in all of Power Four with the amount of pressures given up. Discuss that on the Inside Texas pregame live show today. Actually, let me go ahead and throw this up as well, if I can. Yeah, there we go. And it was a problem. Now, some of the things that we discussed leading up to this game where hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Give me a horns up in the chat. Give me a couple threes in the chat for the overtime catch from Emmett Mosley. His first touchdown reception as a Texas Longhorn, pretty impressive in rather emphatic fashion. And honestly, for Matthew Caldwell to come off the bench cold, ice cold, it was rather cold-blooded of him to make a throw like that. One of the most inefficient, lowest percentage completion throws that you can possibly attempt, and he just puts it on the dot. Couldn't have been, I mean, it maybe could have been a more perfect ball, but it couldn't have been any further away from the field of play, but still within reach to where only his teammate could catch it. I appreciate you being here. The greatest, truth be told, Texas's O-line is trash. That's actually not a secret at this point, and you're right about that. Once again, on full display today, Jeff Lebby, I mean, man, he's going to have nightmares. While you let Texas off the hook and stop pressuring them, stop sending 5, 6, some cases 7 on third downs, 7-man pressures, inexplicable. Now, why it took Sark and company 3 quarters, and you can go back through my timeline, right? On Twitter, I'm sitting here typing out loud, and some of the things that we've discussed pre-game, post-game, what have you, on my platforms, on Inside Texas and in general, going to have to rely upon outside zone a little bit more because that's just it's the only consistent success that you've had against Power 4 opponents in the running game. It's also what suits Trey Wisner's skill set the best. His vision, his decision making, it suits that perfectly. And now also in conjunction with that is the outside zone run scheme, the run attack pairs perfectly. Anybody familiar with the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree, or the Shanny tree in general, right? The West Coast modernized version of those things are, okay, outside zone and play action game off of outside zone. But the play action game by nature does some of the things that we have been calling for quite some time here, more of, right? Roll the pocket, especially in gotta have it situational downs and distances where it's third or fourth and short. And I got to go let my dog in, so give me about 30 seconds. But third or fourth and short, give my athletic, my tight end mobile quarterback a two-way go, right? Not only does it eliminate him from having to stand in the pocket, one that for most of this season doesn't exist, but it gives him an option to keep. And he's obviously more comfortable at this point of his career throwing on the run in general. So let's do some of those things. And then you see Sark lean into that and gotta have it moments, and boom, it pays off down the stretch. Now, why not lean into that and tap into it more? It's not like this is week one against Ohio State when you're still trying to be who you want to be, who you thought you were going to be, who you prepared all offseason attempting to be, right? Thinking that you could be. You have more data now. It's verifiable that you have issues, especially with communication, especially against a zone blitzing style of defense that Mississippi State deploys, to which they're going to constantly not just mug the line of scrimmage, but they're going to simulate pressure, and they're going to drop into spot zone coverage from multiple different areas all throughout the game. But they're going to heat you up. And they're going to get to a 17-point lead, and Luke Tibbetts in the house says time to let Arch throw. Let's take that a step further in just a second, Luke, okay? I don't understand why, and I'll just go through some of my notes here. Why does it take half a game, 3 quarters, sometimes for Texas to enter into tempo, or for Texas to why do they sometimes seemingly just completely abandon the run? And when they do that, it's not just abandoning the run if you're sticking to some of the things and the concepts that work for you in the passing game, most of which require getting the football out as early as you possibly can. But it's abandoning the run to consistently dial up deep shots on 1st and 10. Some of those things are a little bit confusing to me. And on top of that, and I've got here in my notes where there's obviously some errant throws, right? I heard some people already mention today that the interception from Arch, who has done a really good job this year taking care of the football despite all of his shortcomings, especially relative to the incredibly premature and impossible to live up to expectations. He's done a really good job of taking care of the football. Today he had an interception off the hands of Parker Livingston. Most people said that was a drop. I actually attribute that to Arch leaving Parker out to dry. But I don't fault Arch for that necessarily, right? It's just errant throws, sailing the football, which we saw most of his misses today. The ball missed high. Why is that? Well, sports psychology tells us that, or it's very clear that when he's consistently having to stand in the pocket and deliver in the face of pressure, there were a couple instances, one of which was a goal line target that sailed way over the head, like uncatchable ball. Like somebody could have tackled Ryan Wingo and the referee he would have kept the flag in his pocket because it would have been deemed that uncatchable. It's a complete sail because Arch is he's not stepping into the throw. He's basically, I would attribute it to, it's like an alligator arm and a peel off. Like he's spinning out of the throw with an alligator arm because he's just assuming that he's going to get hit. Because up until that point in the game, I think this was halfway through the second quarter at the time, it was Texas's second or third red zone trip. I can't exactly recall. But up until that point, the completed and competent looking forward passes that they had success with up until that moment was all Arch having to stand in the face of pressure and deliver while being hit. And this is a great point here from the greatest. It's what we're going to talk about next for just a second here before we keep going. This is exactly why Sark needs an OC. And hold that thought. Sorry, that's our first of hopefully one total commercial breaks in this show here, so I could let my dog in. So you see, I'd be remiss not to mention, especially in the face of what we dealt with this morning with Diana Rossini's report about Sark potentially being interested in head coaching candidacies, the vacancies of head coaching positions in the National Football League. Down 17, getting dominated to the form of 2x the time of possession, 2x the point total, 2x the total offensive output, the success, right? Still being able to not quit 4 weeks into a 4-week long SEC road gauntlet where you are out of your comfort zone, you're out of your routine, you're out of home cooked meals, you're out of your own bed, you're out of your own prehabilitative and rehabilitative facilities, you're out of everything that you have sort of leaned into, the things, the routines that you have developed and become comfortable with, trying to acclimate yourself to taking care of your body like a professional, treating it like a professional. You're 4 weeks in, on the road in Gainesville, on the road still in Dallas. That's one of the most significant heavyweight fights of the year, every year for Texas. On the road at night, Lexington, Kentucky, which, especially in October, as Texas just found out, is spooky season. On the road, Starkville, Mississippi, Stark, Vegas, 60,000 cowbells. And against a team that has taken pretty much everybody they've played in the SEC this year to the brink. Tennessee, not the least of which. It's a playoff team as of this current moment. But it's also a team that hasn't won a home conference game in 3 calendar years, that had you on the ropes with every excuse to tap out. And when you factor in what Texas dealt with this morning, with the rather explosive reports from Diana Rossini, who is not perfect, by the way. Cowboys fans are well aware of how imperfect her reports can be, and I'll just leave it there. I also cover the Cowboys too, by the way. This is the Sports Below the Surface truth for the true fan, emphasis on Cowboys and Longhorns, but the Sports Below the Surface truth, creatively conveyed in an objective manner as often as I possibly can. That's why we're here. It's what this platform is. It's what we do. For Texas to overcome what they overcame today in that environment, despite national media, Pat McAfee, for God's sakes, is talking about Steve Sarkisian taking an NFL head coaching job on College Game Day this morning because of Diana Rossini. And if you go and look, you can find my timeline at The Lando Show on Twitter. Trey Wingo, who is also no stranger to Cowboys, to being in the good favor of Cowboys fans this week, we'll say, quickly growing on people, especially when you take the headline below the surface, like we always attempt to do here, but clearly what I failed to do this morning when I spoke about what that report actually means and why it came out now and which side it could have been potentially leaking in. Not going to speculate any further on that subject, but Trey Wingo dives a little bit deeper than I did, and I credit him for that, for suggesting, hey, this is classic clickbait here. is really what Trey said in a roundabout way. And I'll read you his direct quote. Let me pull it up here. Just 1 second. Make sure you hit the like button, by the way, on this live. Just let other Texas fans know where to find the Sports Bowl, the surface truth for the true fan. We have where's Trey? I know it was one of the most recent ones. Okay, so he quotes Diana Rossini's tweet, the link that went crazy this morning about her saying, "I'm told that representatives for Texas coach Steve Sarkisian have let NFL decision makers know that he would be interested in potential head coaching openings, including the Titans. Surely anybody that's watching this video right now knows exactly what I'm talking about. So I won't elaborate any further, waste any more time on that." But Trey Wingo quotes, "This is really a fascinating look as to how the media gets your attention. The information below about Sark is literally the last thing in a long, well-informed article about a lot of different topics. But everything about Sark is exactly in this tweet. Nothing more. They choose to promote the article with a picture and headline about Sark on a college football Saturday, knowing there's nothing else about him in this piece, just to get you to read the piece." Trey Wingo. A couple different Wingos worth mentioning tonight, am I right? Ryan Niblett, absolutely, but not just tonight, the last 3 weeks in a row. People forget he actually took one back to the house against Oklahoma as well. The announcers, I think it was Booger McFarland at the halftime show or post-game show immediately after that game. He said something along the lines of, "This is 2 weeks in a row that Ryan Niblett has made a play like that." It's actually 3. But I want to get back to your point a second ago, the greatest, before I forget, because it's a good point. It's valid and it needs to be discussed. And it is being discussed. It's one of the most polarizing topics right now. This is why Sark needs an offensive coordinator. Okay, so my first judgment of that article that Diana Rossini reported this morning was, this is, in my head, I could spin it very easily to myself as a contingency plan, a plan in place for Steve Sarkisian in the event that the inevitable overhaul that is coming as a result of what Texas is being forced to overcome right now midseason, they clearly mishandled, misevaluated, misprojected the offensive line room and situation. Okay, look no further. The only thing I have to say to get you to understand, if anybody who's unfamiliar with the context of what I'm referring to right now, Texas is the worst Power 4 pressure offense in terms of their offensive line giving up pressure. They are amongst the worst. I don't know. I'm saying amongst because I don't know what it is as of today, as of after today's context being included into those data, those metrics, that data. But in the pregame show, that was the case. Okay. There's overhaul coming in the offensive line room, and maybe at least one position on the offensive staff. But let's focus on the topic or the question here from the greatest, who brings up a valid point, and it's one that honestly cannot be disputed, right? The difficulty, the job, the amount of different hats that the modern college head coach is dealt with, managing, overseeing, sometimes circumventing, just the responsibility. You are addressing or answering to not just your administrative staff, but now to donors. You are trying to cater and foster relationships with high school recruits, 17 and 18-year-old young men. You're trying to manage your own roster with 18 to 23-year-old men who now have the freedom to go wherever they choose. Essentially, pretty much whenever they want. They're sort of tightening the rules on that now. When the portal opens and closes, it's not as much the Wild West as it was in recent history. But as a coach, you can't project. You have no idea what your roster looks like. And any given calendar year, projecting it forth just one season, you have no idea. So yeah, Texas miscalculated a couple things. They spent all of their time, energy, effort, resources on defensive tackle, which if you listen to the Inside Texas pregame show this morning or this afternoon prior to the game today, I might be on an island. I'm not alone on the island, is what I said at the time, but I'm on an island that's inhabited by very few people who are at least are. If there's more than a few, then more than a few aren't really talking about it, of the importance of the defensive tackle position because of the numbers game, the advantage that it creates, allowing you to allocate more resources to coverage while stopping the run amidst a lighter box. That's the advantage that Texas has had relative to most of the country. Hence their recent 2-year stretch, consecutive years now, of making it to the college football playoff. Why? Well, talent is obviously a factor here. Texas is always going to be one of the more talented rosters in the country, but when you can dominate the defensive tackle position the way that Texas has, Alfred Collins, T'Vondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, Vernon Broughton, Moro Ojomo, Keandre Coburn, those are all guys that were either drafted on day 1 or day 2 or are on their second contract in the National Football League. Poona Ford is another. Or guys that are trending towards earning their second contract at the defensive tackle position in the National Football League. It's incredibly important. That's why Texas signed 5 of them. That's why Jeff Lebby, this is going to be my next point here. The veer and shoot can be a very difficult scheme, an offensive philosophy to deal with because of the spacing. They're going to spread. They're going to line up receivers all the way across 52 and a half yards, whatever the width of the football field is. They got receivers with splits almost touching each boundary, each sideline. They're going to play with tempo, so you can't substitute. When guys are having to range 52 and a half yards east and west, as well as whatever the distance, whatever the remainder of the field is behind them towards the target end zone for Lebby's offense, you're covering literally every blade of grass. So when your offense can't stay on the field, the Texas defense is going to give up 450 plus yards. They're going to give up 30 plus points. They're going to give up 17 point. They're going to fall to a 17-point deficit in the fourth quarter, or a team that hasn't won a conference home game, and this is their 3rd calendar year now since their last one. Unless I completely misunderstood the broadcast team tonight. They're going to have you on the ropes. That's what that offense does. If your offense can't sustain drives and keep your defense fresh, that's what happened. That's what happened last week against Kentucky. Texas's defense was on the field for 81 plays. Their offense was only on the field for 55. That's not complimentary football. Not even close. Texas scoring as quickly as they did on their opening drive today, when they thought they were going to have to come out and try to, bog the game down with running the football at least 2 times every single time they touch the football. And like the first couple plays, we got to choose some clock here to keep our defense fresh. Got to. Every attempt early on in the football game to establish, some sort of confidence or comfort or rhythm behind the line of scrimmage Something quick and easy. Ball's out. Don't have to worry about pass pro. We're just going to get the football into the hands of our playmakers so that the quarterback can be comfortable, but that we can also set into a rhythm offensively and nullify some of the noise coming from all those cowbells. Right? So the approach, the plan worked, but it almost worked too perfectly because Texas, with their game plan, what they thought that they were going to do today, or that they were going to try to do to condense and shorten the football game, they actually extended it. Their first possession, they scored in 4 plays. But then Ian, here's a point here just to sort of reinforce the point that I'm attempting to make. He wrote, I was just trying to scrumming through some of the Inside Texas board post game, and Ian wrote something that I thought was perfect, and he summed it up better than I probably could have in a sentence or two. Well, where is it? Let me find it. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, here we go. Defending the veer and shoot, writes Ian. We've been over this topic a lot. The veer and shoot offense with its ultra wide receiver splits, constant run pass conflict, and blazing fast receivers, the star of which is former Longhorn Brennan Thompson. 2 touchdowns tonight, by the way. Shout out to Brennan. Aims to prevent defenses from ganging up on the offense and deploying numbers effectively. All right. So we got that part. That's sort of summing up what the veer and shoot is. Where is that sentence, man? I just had it. Well, not going to waste too much time trying to find what Ian wrote, but just needless to say, he made the point of sometimes the veer and shoot can work to the detriment. It doesn't take any prisoners relative to who it's handicapping because of its explosive but high passing volume nature. The clock slows down, the clock stops. So while your offense is putting up points, it's usually you're not condensing the football game because it's not a heavy run emphasis, especially without their top ball carrier tonight. Right, so they inadvertently do Texas favors by leaning towards favoring the pass. Every incompletion stops the clock, keeps Texas in it a little bit longer, especially when you're playing with the lead. Now, they inadvertently, once again, went away from attacking Texas's most glaring across every Power 4 conference weakness, that is their offensive line and pass pro. Inexplicable. But get right, get left is here, says Gig'em Gang. Man, first of all, shout out to you and thank you for the love. My wife and my son are actually sitting right here behind me. That's why the lights are kind of low. I'm trying to stay as quiet as I possibly can. They don't mind the noise, but it's pretty cool, man. My firstborn son today, third kid in total, but he got to witness his first Texas win today, and it was in rather unforgettable fashion. So that was pretty cool to get to hold him and sort of soak that in. And somehow I won't forget for a very long time. But he says, Gig'em Gang, can't wait to see y'all in Austin. Revenge tour. Peace and blessings to your brother, or to you, Brother Lando. Thank you, man. So let me just go ahead and say this for you being here. And you can tell all your Aggie buddies that I said this. I will not hide from it. Texas A&M had a highly touted, productive, and very NFL-esque relative to the personnel and where they are today. Front seven, but particularly their defensive front, right? I hate to admit it. I'm watching Texas A&M play, and I'm focusing, once again, you guys just heard me speak on the defensive tackle room or the position in general as it relates to overall success in the National Football League, but in college football, and every level below, each successive level, That is the most significant jump outside of quarterback and talent, but physical dominance. Like, that's the biggest difference, is the defensive tackle position at every single level. Look at the programs that dominate college football. Which position are they putting into the National Football League in either rounds 1 or 2, days 1 or 2? The dynasties of the last 15 years in college football: Clemson, Alabama, Georgia. Just name all the players that play D tackle that are still in the National Football League today. And it's a laundry list. It's a CVS receipt. Now add Texas to the list, and you start to really understand how important, like you always hear people say, the old adage is college football, or football, it's a game of trench warfare. It's won in the trenches. Yes. Okay, but now let's be more specific. Where is it won in the trenches relative to every other spot in the trenches? Interior defensive line. When you can stop the run while being technically outmanned, hat for hat, and you can allocate more bodies to coverage, you're playing defense. You're giving yourself a chance. You are infinitely more difficult to score on when you have a couple guys in the middle of your defense to which you're rotating 6, 7, 8 sometimes men in and out, constantly keeping them fresh. That's why you guys always hear me say, I've talked about it even all last year, depth will be the difference. College football is expanded now, right? The CFP expansion inadvertently extends the season. To win the national championship, you got to win more football games now, especially if you're not one of the teams that's lucky enough to have a bye. You know how you increase your odds of doing that? You have better bookend or top end talent, more depth at the most important positions. Texas can cycle in Alex January when he's been one of the worst against the run this year, but he's the most disruptive today. 4 weeks in a row on the road in an SEC conference, an SEC schedule. I'm sorry, I just said Alex January, but you guys know what I'm getting at, right? Murad Watson, Hero Kanu, Justice Terry, even Cole Brevard. Like I already mentioned, Alex January. Depth will be the difference. Did you notice what happened? Texas people are the stat sheet watchers, and you guys can clip this and send it to your favorite analyst or insider or whoever. Send it to your buddies, post it, and tell them what I'm about to tell you right now. Stat sheet watchers are going to say, Texas defense is overrated. They gave up whatever the score with 38 points or whatever it was to Mississippi State. 450 yards of total offense. They're frauds. But just look at what happened to Mississippi State's offense when Texas was actually sustaining drives in the fourth quarter and mounting that comeback. What happened? A lot more pressure, right? A lot more incompletions, a lot more tackles for loss, a lot more sacks, right? That offense stalled. I didn't see a different approach from their offense when they had that lead in the fourth quarter. Their defense, they absolutely did, and they'll have nightmares about it. But the offense stuck to its guns, but it didn't matter because the Texas defense was fresh, because the Texas offense was sustaining drives. Let me actually look at the total time of possession here. I don't even know. sources. And I'm going to make sure I'm answering some of y'all's questions y'all got for me. Yeah, so part of that overhaul, if I didn't make that clear earlier, some decisions, some really tough decisions are going to have to be made regardless of how Texas finishes this season. They still have issues that are going to continue to rear their ugly head in certain instances, and especially against certain matchups with teams like, let's just say Mississippi State they have the bodies on the back end, like whatever his name is, number one, that corner. I tweeted in the middle of the game that this is an NFL. This is a legit dude. This is an NFL caliber corner. Kelly something, whatever his name is. Knew a little bit about him in the pregame. I didn't get to study their team, their defense as much as I would have liked to because my son was born this week. So this entire week in general has been a whirlwind. But I'm watching a 6'3" long, rangy guy just be in phase, in step, track footballs, like know exactly where the ball is, and not even so much as hardly touch whichever receiver he was running with. NFL dude. That's a draft pick. I don't even know what class. I don't even know what his how many years of eligibility he has left. I just know that guy's gonna be playing on Sundays. Right? So Mississippi State, their coverage, their defensive unit, Mr. Manning, you didn't think that they would be referring to another Manning and say his name more often than they said Arch's name tonight, did you? But yet they still did. That dude was all over the place. There's NFL players all over that secondary. Right? So they can make it difficult for you to throw the football and exploit your weakness to try to tempt you into doing the things that Sark wants to do, being the team that Sark wants to be offensively, which is a very multiple, not just formationally, but with their personnel in the run game, in the passing game, and the amount of deep shots that they're taking over and over again. That's who Steve Sarkisian ultimately wants to be. But teams like Mississippi State can kind of force your hand because they're just going to dial up pressure. Texas struggles to run the football already. But who Sark wants to be, Texas can't be because they're so good in coverage. So they have a numbers advantage in coverage, but technically a numbers disadvantage in coverage, but they're still applying pressure and causing chaos, making tight window throws feel impossible for Arch because he's constantly having to deliver under pressure quickly. So that's why you hear me reference things like roll the pocket, right? Change the launch point. I'm sitting here just freaking going nuts typing about it in the middle of the football game, right at or maybe right in the middle of halftime, whenever it was. I'll check the timestamps on it. Just go to my Twitter profile at the Lando Show. You can see it. And it's just inexplicable. Gotta have it moments. Pretty stagnant pre-snap. And I get it, crowd noise is a major factor in that building. But there's no options. Not only are there no quick outlets in the face of pressure, an obvious passing, gotta have it downs at distances, 3rd and 9, a couple different occasions that I tweeted about where I'm like, dude, where's the outlet at? The nearest outlet was DeAndre Moore on a critical 3rd and 9, I think halfway through the third quarter, somewhere along those lines. And DeAndre Moore is through the field, so the far side of the field, and he's 12 yards past the line of scrimmage. And he wasn't the first or second read in the progression. So he's technically in the flat, but that's not a quick outlet. When you know it's 3rd and 9 and a team that's been heating you up all day is going to send at least 5. The ball's got to come out, man. And there's no easy buttons in those moments for Arch. Yet he still stood in there. He's throwing jump balls to DeAndre Moore, of all people, while taking one right to the chin. And then as a result of plays like that, he gets hit again. He's either getting sacked, getting hit while he's throwing, or getting hit immediately after he lets the football go. There's instances in the red zone where it should be an automatic touchdown or easy completion conversion, but he sails it 13 yards over Ryan Wingo's head because subconsciously, psychologically, his body can't erase what he feels like is inevitable every single time he drops back, but stands within the pocket. Move the pocket. He's been more effective. He's looked more NFL. Arch, that is, on the move this year, all year anyway. So there's no excuse to not have quick outlets, but also to not give your quarterback that's 6'4", 225 a two-way go. So in the event that they do cover it up well, they do fool you with their sim pressures, their zone blitzes. If he evades, or he doesn't have to evade to escape, he's already given that go as a result of the play call. Everything's flowing with him. So he can make decisions. He can make all-world throws on the run like he's done all year, guys. Yeah, he's sucked at times. He's looked completely inept, but you would too if your last name was Manning, if you had Texas across your chest, and if you had the worst Power 4 pass-protecting unit in front of you. You would too. So have a little patience for the kid, man. That's been something that I've tried really, really, really hard to keep reminding myself, but also just reminding the public, man. The microscope that he's under is unlike almost anything that we've ever seen. The last name, the brand, and the modern era of social media. It's a trifecta that that human beings, primitively speaking, are not capable of dealing with. We weren't designed for it. So that's where faith really comes into play, man. I mean, when the going get tough, seeing more and more athletes nowadays, you think it's a coincidence? More and more guys speaking up about not just their relationship with Christ, not just their faith, but with their transformation as a result of the adversities that levels of fame in college football, like Arch Manning, but other examples. Just so you guys know, I'm not just making things up. Justin Fields, Emeka Ibuka, Baker Mayfield. There's countless others. Christ League, one of the Instagram profiles that I follow, they do a really good job of highlighting all those things where, I mean, TreVeyon Henderson was another one in their national championship run for Ohio State last year. Just athletes all over the place, more and more often now, are open, are bold, are candid with their faith and what they're tasked with handling as a result of the microscope created by modern sports, but just social media in general. It's a lot. And yet, Arch, one of the most embarrassing conference games that Texas fans could remember 4 weeks ago in Gainesville, ended in a one-possession game. Texas had the football at the end with a chance to go and win it. Down 17, 4 weeks into your SEC road trip, a month-long SEC road trip. You're 4 weeks in. It's the fourth quarter. Your defense has every reason to say, gosh, dang it, man, here we go again. Being left out to dry. Down 17. What is the point? I'm gassed. We got Jeff Lebby and company going full speed. Grand Theft Auto on us. Warp speed with their tempo. I just played 80 snaps for my on the road in Lexington, Kentucky last week. 3 weeks into an SEC road trip. And I got to go and do it again? What does that tell you? There's no reason, and I apologize for this, guys. There's no reason it took me 45 minutes to mention. I don't think I mentioned it yet. Maybe I did, but whatever. The culture. This right here. A little bit of time to throw can do for a player at the quarterback position. Mississippi State elected to go away from what got them the 17-point lead in the fourth quarter in the first place and play a little bit more prevent, bend but don't break, if you will, type coverage and defense. Took the pressure off of the Texas offensive line. Arch made them pay. Amazing what happens when there's a little bit of time to throw, to think, or just to not get hit while throwing, It's a gutsy performance on a ton of different accounts, particularly the defense, who was once again left out to dry in the first half, partially due to Texas scoring so quickly on their opening possession, and just a couple other procedural things, and then situations where Texas shot themselves in the foot by doing the things that we've already talked about, what everybody knows that they are not necessarily good at, which is pass protection, right? Rolling the pocket on 3rd and 4th down is a good idea. That's some of the things that we discussed prior to halftime and shortly after, and then we started to see some of those things down the stretch, and it works. Now, here's the interesting thing about all this is 3 consecutive technical road wins in the SEC for Texas, by the way. OU is obviously, you don't necessarily count that one. That's a half home game, but it's still not at home. And when you go to Gainesville, then you go to Dallas, and then you go to Lexington, and then you go to Starkville, that's 4 months away from your routine, from your home. That's a tough stretch, and Texas won 3 of those games. So that says a lot about this team, especially amidst all the explosive reports from this morning regarding Steve Sarkisian. Showed a little bit about how they're wired, a little bit of fight for not just themselves, each other, but their coach. That's a win for me, especially as a spectator, but for the program. That's a statement in some sense for me. So now the rest of some of you would still see that game, and I hate to even think about this, but I know that it's true in some capacity. Some people are probably cheering that Arch Manning has a concussion, most likely. I don't want to speculate, but I would venture to guess based on what I saw on the replay, had bounced off the turf a little bit, right? Probably going to be out for Vanderbilt next Saturday at DKR. Matthew Caldwell's going to get the start. And it's a shame to say that a lot of you are going to be happy about that. But I know that with a proper plan, when you outside zone, commit to the run, regardless of what it is, but just commit to it, to play complementary football, let your defense win you games, which once again tonight, they came up big when they had to, situationally speaking. So, yeah, that was fun. Survive in advance. So some of those, like, depth will be the difference, right? Back to that point. That was the difference today when Matthew Caldwell Cold came off the bench and delivered the lowest percentage pitch and catch concept in any playbook at any level of football. The goal line fade. First throw of the day, just about as perfect as it could possibly be. Insane. I also realized too, if Get Right, Get Left from Gig'em Gang is still in here, I wanted to mention that my wife actually thought we laughed because Kirk Herbstreit, I had a reel regarding one of the Thursday night football matchups. It was Cardinals and somebody, Cardinals Seahawks from about 3 weeks ago. And the topic of discussion was Marvin Harrison Jr. and the sports psychology involved with, what unfolded in those particular moments. But to hear Kirk Herbstreit mention something, and then of course I elaborated on it. He apparently the video did well. It got to him. He followed me, and it just like almost on a weekly basis. Anytime I'm watching a game that Kirk Herbstreit is calling, it's like an inside joke between my family and I, where Kirk Herbstreit and I are just always on the same page. We're saying the exact same thing. We're seeing the game the same way. We just think about football similarly, right? And so today I'm watching A&M play, and I hate giving them credit, man, but it's my job to be objective and creatively convey the sports below the surface truth. And the truth is, when I watch, it's going to sound crazy, but I mean, Kirk Herbstreit said it too. When I watch Marcel Reed play, he's the closest thing to Lamar Jackson on a college football field, just with play style particularly, not dual threat ability, right? Like some people might say Jaden Daniels, some people might say, what's another recent example? I don't even know, but you get the point. Marcel Reed is the closest thing that I've seen on a college football field at the quarterback position since Lamar Jackson was on the football field at the quarterback position in college football. And then literally it was right on cue. Kirk Herbstreit said the same thing. It was just crazy, but that's what that reminded me of, his comment there. So Texas has a tough one. I think they're the two toughest games of their season are and that's on a schedule that features the defending national champions, Oklahoma, which is always tough, and then a team like, Vanderbilt, who's coming to town next week. It's crazy to say that on the road in Gainesville, on the road in Starkville, on the road in Lexington, on the road in Columbus, right? Like at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas against Oklahoma. Texas's three most difficult matchups are still yet to come. And that's next weekend. That's A&M, and that's Georgia. It's crazy. It sounds crazy to call Vandy a more difficult matchup than Ohio State. I just think the experience at quarterback makes that matchup more difficult for them. Like the difference between Diego Pavia and Julian Sayin at that point when Texas played Ohio State, to me, is drastic. And he is the pulse. He's the lifeline of that team. That it runs through him. So, to me, it's more they got their work cut out, and so I feel like there's a couple things that I really wanted to hone in on, maybe that I've forgotten. So, if there's any questions that you guys have before we get up out of here, please feel free to send those through right now. I'll go through my notes. I'll scrub through the notepad one more time. We talked about the rolled pockets on third and fourth and shorts. There was a blatant missed tripping call that I think was a pivotal moment in that game. It was just before halftime, I think, when maybe it was just after halftime. It was somewhere in the middle part of the game, one of the middle two quarters, where Texas actually sustained a drive. Arch steps up and tries to scramble right up. It was one of the A gaps. And he looks like he's got, Texas is, it's either a goal to go situation or they're firmly supplanted inside the red zone. And it's a blatant tripping call. One of their interior defensive linemen just sticks his leg out about upper shin to kneecap height and just trips Arch. That should have been a blatant half the distance of the goal, first and goal, Texas with a chance to put 7 points on the board. Instead, they have to settle for a field goal. And as we know now, that field goal was, of course, missed. So they got no points when they would have had a really prime real estate chance to put 7 on the board. First and goal from approximately the Mississippi State 6-yard line. So that was kind of interesting. Um, Texas and Sark, this is one of the things that he's just going to have to kind of continue spending a lot of effort and energy on, right? When I need your best call, man. I need the play, even if it's not your most explosive play call. It's not like a cutthroat, a go for the gusto play. I don't need your triple reverse Lexington, Kentucky stuff that you're deploying in the opening play script on 3rd and 3. Okay, give me something that's going to guarantee me 4 yards, right? And when your defense gets a turnover on downs, and teams are still trying. Texas's defense up the A gaps on 3rd and 4th and short. Just at some point, in this dates all the way back to not just last year, but the year before. At some point, teams are going to learn that doesn't end well for you. Mississippi State, luckily, though, still didn't learn that lesson. Texas was able to turn the football over on downs and have just a picture-perfect look at points. Put their offense in as good of a position, a starting field position as you possibly can. I think they were right around the Mississippi State 40-yard line when Texas took over after that stop. No points to show for it. Texas blocks a would-be field goal attempt early in the game. Can't even so much as get a first down. I believe it's an instant 3 and out right after that point. So it's like all the momentum that you capture in a momentum boosting moment like that, you instantly give it right back. Everybody else takes a sigh of relief. The stadium exhales. The sideline gets re-energized. The home team, that is. And it's back to business. Right back on script like nothing ever happened. On the road, you can't let those things happen, man. You got to at least get a first down. Give me one first down. A couple different occasions I watched Texas. 1st and 10. I think one of these occasions, it was 2 separate 3 and outs. One was in the first half, one was in the second half. 1st and 10, I got a 5-yard carry. And I tweeted this too. 5-yard carry to make it 2nd and 5. 2nd and 5, I get a 4-yard carry to make it 3rd and 1 plus, maybe a long one. Okay. Both occasions, quick slant, tip ball, incompletion, punt. Quick slant, errant throw, incompletion, punt. I'm getting 5 and 4. Can I not run the football on 3rd and a long one? Just to sustain a drive. Even if it's not my favorite play call, even if it's not what's worked for me in the past, even, if I'm Sark, I've got to know. I've got to do my defense a favor here. Even if I don't complete or make the line to gain and extend the drive and get a first down. If I run the football and I fall short, I condense the football game. I reduce the time because the clock keeps moving. Those are some of the things that frustrate me big time right now. Complementary football. And I know Sark knows it because he's teasing it in the pressers. And he's starting to get rather descriptive with his teasings of what I'm describing right now. But yet, this goes back to the greatest's point. In the heat of the moment, it's easy to speak that way, right? In the pressers. It's easy to prepare that way in the pregame prep, like all week long in practice. But when the going gets tough, when the bright lights are on, when the cowbells are out, when you're down 17, what do you lean on? Right? That's why you need a little bit of help to maintain a level head, fresh perspective, an extra set of eyes, and an extra mind that can say, hey, man, don't forget who we are right now, how we're trying to win, how we have to win, pretty much, with the exception of a miraculous comeback today on behalf of the Texas offense where Mississippi State's defense inexplicably let their foot off the gas. for the third time in this stream here. Jeff Lebby's going to have to live with that, and he'll have nightmares about it and for the foreseeable future as a result of it. Okay, Sark's got to have somebody in his ear saying, hey, man, backed up into our own end right now, even if this isn't the play call that you like, it probably best suits you, especially like your quarterback's accuracy from the pocket anyway has been a question all year. He's better on the run, right? Hey, man, let's not try to hit a quick slant amidst a bunch of traffic. We just got +5 in the run game, +4 in the run game. It's 3rd and 1 plus, right? 3rd and a long 1. Let's run the football one more time. Let's see if we can't choose physicality. Man, if you heard my pregame show yesterday, the simplest message for Texas, the simplest that I've ever made a pregame, the game plan that I've ever recorded on this platform for any team, for either team that I cover, but any game. It's about making a decision on Monday in prep, how you're going to attack your opponent. Play complementary football and pride yourself in running the football, even if you suck at it. But especially on the road in that environment, when you just got 5 yards because you blew their interior 2 off the football, off the line of scrimmage, and then you did it again on 2nd down. And then we want to get cute and throw the football and stop the clock. On 3rd and short, on 2 different occasions that happened. 1st and 10, 5-yard gain on the ground. 2nd and 5, 4-yard gain on the ground. 3rd and a long 1, we throw it, incomplete, punt. Other instances, ways to circumvent those things if you want to throw the football. Roll the pocket. The things that worked late in their comeback effort in the 4th quarter. What did they do? Go back and watch the game. Nash Talks Texas will have every play. It's probably already posted as we speak because that's how efficient he works, man. The dude's a machine. Or just go on your YouTube TV and run it back. Go watch. The amount of times that Texas deployed amidst their comeback effort late in the game, getting Arch outside the pocket. But why did it take 4 quarters? When I'm sitting here, the guy with a camera and a microphone with a newborn baby in his lap, talking about it halfway through the 1st quarter. Matter of fact, talking about it before the game even started. Hey, this is what you got to do. Not just because of your personnel, but because of what they do defensively to confuse your personnel that already struggles up front. I don't get it. Sark ain't no dummy, man. He knows. He just needs somebody to help remind him to know quicker and to know better. When the going get tough, when the going gon' get tougher, I already said it and I'll stand on it. The 3 most difficult matchups in Texas' schedule this season haven't happened yet. Georgia, A&M, Vandy. And I know a lot of people Ohio State fans are going to go insane if they hear that, but just there's context to that. Okay, the quarterback relative to the timeline in which Texas played them. Okay, Julian saying first start versus Diego Pavia. Come on now. But then also just the growing pains of week 1 when you still don't really know who your team is. You got a pretty decent idea, but you got to see it under the lights in real time, right? There's some experimental things going on in week 1. It ain't the same as seeing A&M, who's currently top 3, blowing out teams like LSU on the road in Death Valley by 40 points in embarrassing fashion. Georgia, who has your number. Even in your best year in the last 12 years, you're embarrassed by them for most of the 8 quarters that you saw them in. That's daddy. All right? And then Diego Pavia. a college football sweetheart right now, but the dude that seemingly single-handedly every single week wills his team to victory. They embody the wrestler mentality. They play tough. They play ball control. You make a mistake, you're only going to get about 7 or 8 possessions. It's a drastic difference from the Jeff Lebby veer and shoot tempo system that they just play. The game gets shrunk, not extended, against teams like Vandy. Texas better pack their lunch pail and their hard hat because they better get ready for a heavyweight fight. But they're prepared to win those kind of games. Mississippi State had no part. They won no part of running the football against Texas today. And that was the first thing that I mentioned in my preview for this game. In no world does a team like Mississippi State spread Texas out and just run the football on them, even amidst the veer and shoot, and control the football game that way. It's not going to happen. Vandy's a little bit more capable because they incorporate the quarterback. They have an extra hat in the run game, and there's more misdirection elements involved. It's condensed formations, which means a lot more traffic, a lot more chaos, a lot more misdirection. I just went off on a tangent there, but that's it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this this live session. I know it's a little bit late, but it's just the hand that I'm dealt, the situation that I'm currently in. And I thank you guys for your time. I know every single minute when we got all these different forms of entertainment these days, even in the palm of our hands now, in our pockets all the time, right? You guys choose to spend some of your Saturday night with me. It doesn't go unnoticed. It's very appreciated, but just I know that I need you to do your part still. I've done mine here. Like the video for me. That way this platform can continue to grow. Tell a friend where to find the sports below the surface truth for the true fan, with emphasis on Texas and the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys got a big one tomorrow. Once again, my son was born this week, so I didn't have my usual workload, my previews and things posted to my timeline here on YouTube. But you can keep up with me, all my thoughts on any given day, any given time. They're almost always going to Twitter first, and then I'll usually elaborate and get deeper on, various different short form platforms, but then also YouTube as well, where we really dive deep and have an opportunity to have hour-long conversations like these. So like the video for me. Enjoy the games tomorrow. And don't forget to subscribe to Inside Texas. This has been Lando from the Lando Show on behalf of Inside Texas. Remember, the prayer changes things. The world's already won. Talk to you guys soon.